Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of Captain Marvel from 2019. Now that some of the furore and some of the drama surrounding this film has died down, I thought it would be a good time to watch this film independent of any comments or criticism and give it a review. Anybody who's seen any of the previous Marvel films will be familiar with much of the cast. Brie Larson stars in the title role as Carol Danvers and Captain Marvel. Samuel L. Jackson is back as a de-aged Nick Fury, together with Jude, Ben Mendelsohn, Simon Hounsou, Lee Pace, Gemma and also a de-aged Clark Gregg, because the story takes place in the 1990s when Nick Fury was just a young agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and this is one of his earlier missions. The story is about Vers, who is a member of the Kree race. This is an alien race of protectors that go around fighting this villainous race of people called the Skrulls. These are dangerous shapeshifters who can infiltrate planets. As one of the good guys, it is Vers' job to master her powers under the tutelage of Jude Law's character, but also help other people who are being attacked by these Skrulls. So far so good. It seems like she's a member of kind of intergalactic peace force, similar to what we've seen with things like the Nova Corps in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. And here where some of the problems first arose for me. Vers is quite new from what I can tell from the start of the film. She's still training and trying to master her powers, but she doesn't want to listen to her teacher. Every time he tells her to gain control of her emotions, which will then allow her to master her powers more, she doesn't want to listen to him. She punches him in the face, and she cheats and hits him with her powers, proving the point that she can't defeat him without her powers. I'm not sure where this arrogance comes from, but it was annoying me right from the start. As the film progresses, there's an accident and something happens, and Vers ends up on Earth chasing after some of the Skrulls. Spoilers, there's the big twist that you find out that in fact she isn't a member of the Kree. The Skrulls aren't evil, and it's all been a big mind game by the Kree, who are attempting to use her for their own ends, and also get access to where her powers come from and the source of them. Slowly her memories start to return and she realizes that she's actually Carol Danvers, a woman from Earth who was a pilot, who was in some kind of an accident, which resulted in her memory loss, being taken off planet, and also the powers. So she's reintroduced to some of her friends who have believed she's been dead for the last few years. But to begin with, she's pursuing the Skrulls, chasing after them, which is an interesting and fun scene because they are shape changers. So there's one scene where she starts punching out an old woman on a subway train, which in fact turns out to be one of the shape changers. There's a cameo by one of the Marvel writers, Kelly Sue DeConnick, which I noticed, and a couple of other people. There's even Stan Lee in there reading a script from Mallrats, because around that time in the 1990s he was about to film that. So there's lots of little nods. The music and the soundtrack is really cool. She crash lands into a Blockbuster store when she first gets there. So there's lots of nice things like that. So, why is it my least favourite of the Marvel films? The main reason for this is that there are a lot of problems with this script. The fact that all the Skrulls turn out to be Australian actors is a little bit distracting, because suddenly they all switched to that, so that threw me, but that wasn't a major thing. There's a massive MacGuffin in the film with the fact that there's this cat called Goose, yes, which is a nice nod to Top Gun because she was a pilot and so on, but this cat, which is also an alien, turns up, is a huge MacGuffin for the film, because it relies on this cat, which is never explained where it comes from or why it's there, only that they need it, and then at various points they take it with them, which wouldn't make any sense if it were an actual cat, such as on a plane into space, but because it's needed for the plot, the cat goes with them. Nick Fury, despite being a younger agent, is written as someone who's really quite stupid. He's gullible, he's led around by the nose, and for the man who then becomes the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., you would think you'd have a little bit more intelligence. I found the main character to be arrogant throughout the film, never listening to anybody else, always wanting to do their own thing, and while that rebellious streak might be admired in other characters, in this one I just found it annoying, because she always thought she was right at all times, always thought she knew best, and never was willing to listen to other people. There's this whole thing and the montage about rising up and fighting and constantly trying to do your best, which was great. However, the way it was communicated was a bit of a surprise because she's fighting against somebody, but in this I'm not really sure who she's been fighting in all of these scenes. Perhaps she just doesn't like being told no, or that she's not always right. All of this contributes to making the main character somebody who isn't very likeable at all, which makes it hard to want to root for them and to see them succeed. There's a weird contradiction in the film as well, because at the start she's being taught that she must suppress her emotions in order to access her powers. However, throughout the film I found her quite emotionless, never willing to engage properly with the characters, never getting particularly excited, upset, happy, or anything, and I found it a very one-note performance, and I don't know if this was intentional or not. If the message of the film was to stand up, rise, and fight back, no matter the odds, then I think it was communicated very poorly. As an origin film, it's a bit of a mishmash because it relies so much on a huge gaping plot hole. The characterization was badly done by Samuel L. Jackson and Brie Larson, and that goes back to the script because I think both of them are capable of much better performances, having seen them in other films. The fight scenes and the action were all fantastic, the CGI was top-notch, but I would expect nothing less than that with a Marvel film. However, this one was done within the last few years, and it is a much later Marvel film, so I was expecting it to bring something new to the table. Much like when the first Guardians of the Galaxy arrived, everyone was completely blown away and surprised by that, because it was so radically different. Or when we got the first new Spider-Man film, it wasn't a rehash and a reboot of his origin story. So overall, the film wasn't particularly surprising. I think there were problems with the script. The main performances were struggling. There's the big plot holes and that things were there just because. And I've come to expect much better from Marvel scripts with the likes of what we've seen in the past. There were some good fight scenes. I enjoyed seeing the Skrulls transform into people and merge into the crowd. So that was quite a good new twist on what we've seen in the past. And there's also the suggestion that other characters who may have been killed off could now turn out to be Skrulls, and as a way to bring them back. So it's a new wrinkle for the Marvel Universe. But overall, as a movie by itself, I was quite disappointed by Captain Marvel, and so on this occasion I'm going to give it 2 bags out of 5. Have you seen Captain Marvel? If so, what did you think? Get in touch with us in the usual way and let us know, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.